A franchise quarterback's worst nightmare isn't missing an open receiver, it's hearing an unblocked edge rusher coming up behind him while he's still making his progression. When Ozzy Trapilo crumpled to the turf, the Bears didn't just lose a starter, they unlocked a four-man left tackle civil war with zero clear frontrunners and a rapidly ticking clock. From a broken former first-rounder searching for redemption to hungry wildcards fighting for survival, Chicago's front office gambled their franchise savior on an open, chaotic Royal Rumble. If Ryan Poles miscalculated this position battle, every bone-crushing blindside sack won't just ruin a season, it could permanently break Caleb Williams before his career even starts. Here is how a catastrophic front office gamble turned the most critical position on the field into a bloodbath, and who will survive to protect the future of the franchise. The instant Ozzy Trapilo clutched his knee during Chicago's playoff run, a structural fracture ripped through the foundation of the Bears' long-term rebuilding plan. In modern professional football, there is no asset more valuable or delicate than a second-year franchise quarterback transitioning into an elite offensive system. Caleb Williams represents a generational financial and competitive investment, a talent capable of elevating an entire organization, provided he operates within a secure pocket. Yet, as players report to summer practices, the single most vital insurance policy protecting that investment remains completely unsigned to a definitive starter. The left tackle position is not merely another spot on an offensive line depth chart. It is the visual anchor of a passer's entire peripheral processing. When a young quarterback cannot trust his blindside edge protection, subtle mechanics begin to degrade instantly. Passers stop stepping into high-velocity throws. Their internal clock speeds up artificially. Eyes drop down toward the pass rush instead of remaining locked downfield, and fundamental footwork disintegrates into survival instincts. Entering August with an open competition rather than an established pass-protecting cornerstone is an extraordinarily dangerous tactical maneuver. While front offices often champion open competitions as healthy iron sharpens iron environments designed to extract peak performance, offensive line play relies heavily on continuous chemistry, communication, and rotational continuity. An offensive line does not function as five isolated individuals running solo assignments. It operates as an interdependent unit where split-second calls against complex defensive stunts require instantaneous trust between the left tackle and left guard. By constantly rotating four different contenders through first-team repetitions throughout training camp, the coaching staff inadvertently denies Williams the familiarity of a consistent pocket boundary. Every split-second delay in set depth or every missed handoff on an edge twist blitz directly exposes the young signal caller to violent, season-altering hits from elite edge rushers. The anxiety surrounding this positional vacuum reaches far beyond standard roster speculation. In a division packed with formidable pass-rushing fronts, attempting to scheme around a weak or uncertain left tackle restricts the entire offensive playbook before the season even starts. Instead of allowing Ben Johnson's system to attack all three levels of the field with deep dropbacks and dynamic play-action concepts, coaches are forced to deploy extra tight ends to keep running backs in as extra blockers or rely heavily on quick game screens. This protective posture effectively neutralizes the vertical arm talent that made Williams a top pick in the first place. The Bears find themselves teetering on a razor-thin edge. A successful left tackle emerge cleanly from this four-way battle will keep the engine running smoothly, but a failed transition will transform the pocket into a chaotic war zone, turning Caleb Williams' breakout year into an agonizing fight for survival. Navigating this high-stakes left tackle battle requires examining four vastly different football profiles, starting with the incumbent veteran Braxton Jones. Jones has proven to be one of the most intriguing evaluation studies on the entire roster. Entering the final stretch of his contract framework, he represents baseline stability mixed with a clear, frustrating ceiling. On paper, his long arms, smooth pass sets, and experience starting dozens of NFL games give him an immediate leg up in overall familiarity. He knows the cadences, the defensive line stunts, and the sheer speed of professional edge rushers better than anyone else in the room. Yet, the tape reveals recurring vulnerabilities that keep coaches up at night. Against heavy power rushers who collapse the pocket with a firm bull rush anchor, Jones has historically struggled to hold his ground, occasionally getting driven back directly into Caleb Williams' path. Now, with his long-term future in Chicago hanging in the balance, Jones is fighting not just to maintain his starting role, but to prove he is far more than a temporary placeholder. Directly challenging the veteran is Jedrick Wills Jr., a former first-round selection seeking a career resurgence after securing a fresh start in Chicago. Wills arrived carrying the heavy label of a high-upside prospect who struggled with technical discipline and health during the early chapter of his career. However, the internal buzz around training camp suggests a completely redefined athlete this summer. Having dramatically reshaped his body by shedding excess weight and stacking on lean muscle, Wills displays a renewed quickness in his lateral kick slide that mirrors his absolute best film. His raw physical traits have never been in question. He possesses the natural balance and explosive upper body punch necessary to stonewall high-end defensive ends when his technique aligns with his motor. For Wills, this four-way showdown is a career-defining crossroads. If he can combine his upgraded physical conditioning with consistent mental discipline, he offers the highest natural ceiling in the room, a potential true anchor who could finally fulfill his elite draft pedigree. While Jones and Wills represent the established tier of the competition, the lower half of the battle features two athletic wildcards in Kiran Amegaji and Theo Benedet, both aggressively pushing to crash the first-team rotation. Amegaji, boasting an enormous physical frame and rare length, possesses the raw tools that offensive line coaches dream of developing. His immense wingspan and grip strength allow him to erase edge rushers once he locks his hands inside, but his relative lack of top-tier game reps means his footwork and blitz recognition can occasionally lag against disguise-heavy fronts. Balancing out the group, Benedet brings a relentless, high-energy playing style coupled with impressive functional athleticism. Benedet plays with a fiery mean streak, looking to finish every block through the whistle, though his ultimate test lies in refining his hand placement so that high-volume aggression translates into disciplined, penalty-free protection against elite speed. This stark contrast in profiles creates a complex tactical puzzle for the coaching staff. On one end sits the battle-tested familiarity of Braxton Jones. On another, the high-upside redemption arc of a re-engineered Jedrick Wills Jr., and lurking right behind them are two physically gifted developmental threats, elevating the pressure in the room every afternoon. None of these four contenders offers a bulletproof guarantee, yet each brings a distinct skill set that could theoretically solve Chicago's most glaring positional question mark. As pads pop and rotational groupings shift daily, the competition is no longer just about who executes an assignment on paper. It has become a high-pressure psychological test to see which tackle can handle the heat, earn the unconditional trust of Caleb Williams, and lock down the single most vital sector of the offense. Understanding why this four-way left tackle battle is so critical requires peeling back the curtain on Ben Johnson's offensive architecture and examining the physical demands placed on the offensive line. Johnson's scheme is not a static system. It is a multi-layered operation that seamlessly shifts between explosive wide zone stretch runs and dynamic play action dropback passing plays. In a zone stretch heavy scheme, the left tackle's first priority of the snap is lateral speed and reach blocking efficiency. The tackle must execute a lightning-fast bucket step, gain outside leverage on the defensive end, and flow horizontally across the line of scrimmage while maintaining enough body control to sink his hips and seal the edge. If the left tackle lacks fluid hip mobility or elite foot speed, the defensive end can set a hard edge, stringing the running back out toward the sideline and destroying the play's designed rhythm before the back can cut upfield. However, the physical profile demanded by Johnson's running attack is only half the equation. The real pressure on the left tackle emerges in the drop-back passing game, where Johnson loves to utilize deep intermediate routes and play-action shot concepts that require longer development times in the pocket. In standard quick-game offenses, a left tackle can survive by simply getting two hands on a pass rusher and leaning as the ball is released within 2 seconds. But in a deep drop-back system designed around downfield chunk plays, the left tackle must anchor against high-powered bull rushes for 3 to 4 full seconds. This requires a rare combination of lower body functional strength, chest leverage, and hand placement discipline. When an elite edge rusher converts speed to power, a tackle without a firm anchor gets walked directly back into the quarterback's lap, constricting the passing window and forcing early off-platform throws. The film reveals that Johnson's offense also relies heavily on dynamic pass protection adjustments against exotic blitz packages and stunt concepts. NFL defensive coordinators constantly test young tackles with twist stunts, where a defensive tackle crashes hard into the tackle's outside shoulder while the defensive end loops underneath into the B gap. Successfully passing off a stunt requires instantaneous spatial awareness, rapid communication with the left guard, and elite foot recovery. If the left tackle commits his weight too early or fails to slide his feet inside, the interior loop creates a direct, unblocked lane right into the heart of the pocket. For Caleb Williams, these split-second breakdowns in protection are lethal. A quarterback cannot survey field-wide progressions or manipulate safeties with his eyes if he is constantly bracing for impact from an unblocked defender coming off his blind side. Ultimately, Ben Johnson's system does not allow for a pure specialist at left tackle. It demands a complete multi-tool anchor, a player who excels at horizontal zone blocking but lacks the power to hold off a bull rush will turn deep dropbacks into disaster scenarios. Conversely, a heavy-footed anchor who cannot execute wide reach blocks will stifle the run game and render the offense one-dimensional. As film sessions intensify inside Halas Hall, the coaches are dissecting every single frame of footwork, pad level, and hand placement. The left tackle who wins this job won't just be the one who looks best in isolated drills, it will be the player who can seamlessly bridge the gap between dynamic stretch zone running and brick wall pass protection, giving Caleb Williams the clean pocket he needs to unlock the full potential of this offense. As the summer heat intensifies at Halas Hall and the four-way left tackle rotation continues to spin without a clear frontrunner, the narrative surrounding this positional crisis inevitably shifts from the field to the executive suites. General Manager Ryan Poles has built his reputation on aggressive roster restructuring, methodical draft and develop principles, and a commitment to competitive depth. Yet, by entering a high-stakes championship window with the four-man Royal Rumble at the team's second most crucial offensive position, Poles has exposed himself to severe front office accountability. When an organization possesses a generational quarterback asset like Caleb Williams, conventional NFL roster-building logic dictates that blindside protection should be locked down with absolute non-negotiable certainty. Surrounding a transcendent passing talent with elite offensive line infrastructure is not a luxury. It is a fundamental prerequisite for sustained franchise success. By opting against aggressive moves to secure a blue-chip veteran left tackle in free agency or executing a marquee trade to plug the post-injury void left by Ozzy Trapilo, Poles placed a massive calculated bet on an unproven internal tournament. This strategic choice forces a critical evaluation of front office philosophy. Proponents of Poles' approach argue that relying on an open competition creates an authentic meritocracy, where the most deserving player naturally earns the job through daily battle. In theory, pitting an experienced starter looking to hold his ground against a re-engineered former first-rounder and two hungry developmental wildcards extracts maximum urgency from every player in the room. Furthermore, managing the salary cap with long-term flexibility requires making hard choices about where to allocate premium top-tier dollars, and the front office clearly believed that their coaching staff could elevate internal options into a capable starting unit. From this managerial perspective, throwing massive financial resources or multiple high draft picks at a short-term quick fix might have compromised the team's overall roster depth across other key position groups. However, critics within league circles see this decision as a dangerous miscalculation that fundamentally misunderstands the real-world operational realities of an NFL offensive line. Unlike position groups such as wide receiver or defensive line, where individual rotators can step in, execute isolated tasks, and rotate off the field, the offensive line requires relentless repetition, shared instincts, and split-second communication as a cohesive five-man unit. By allowing a four-way competition to drag deep into August, the front office has actively deprived Caleb Williams and the offense of precious rotational continuity. Every practice snap split between four different left tackles represents a missed opportunity for the starting line to master complex stunt handoffs and build the unspoken chemistry required to protect against top-tier pass rushes. If the left tackle battle yields inconsistent play once the games actually count, the responsibility will not rest solely on the player who surrenders a drive-killing sack. It will fall directly on the front office that allowed the position to remain an unsettled gamble. Ultimately, Ryan Poles finds himself standing at a pivotal crossroads of his executive tenure. If one of the four contenders rises to the occasion and locks down the blind side with dominant, steady play, Poles will be praised for his patience, cap discipline, and belief in player development. But if the left tackle position becomes a revolving door of missed assignments, collapsing pockets, and constant physical punishment for Caleb Williams, the decision to forgo a blue-chip insurance policy will stand as the defining flaw of the offseason. In the high-stakes pressure cooker of professional football, general managers are judged not by their intentions, but by their outcomes. As the preseason clock ticks down towards September, the entire franchise is waiting to see whether Ryan Poles' high-wire front office gamble pays off or leaves the future of the organization completely unprotected. As training camp draws to a close and the final preseason tune-up approaches, the coaching staff cannot afford to keep the left tackle competition unsettled any longer. When balancing experience, athletic upside, and technical consistency, the projected winner of Chicago's left tackle job comes down to who can provide the highest baseline of immediate reliability for Caleb Williams. While the sheer physical talent of Jedrick Wills Jr. and the developmental surges from Kiran Amegaji and Theo Benedette have kept the pressure high throughout August, all indicators point to Braxton Jones ultimately securing the starting nod for Week 1. Jones may not possess the elite ceiling of a blue-chip superstar, but his extensive bank of starting reps, quick lateral footwork, and intimate familiarity with defensive front disguises give him a crucial edge over his peers. In a season where stability is paramount for a rising young quarterback, the coaching staff will default to the player who minimizes catastrophic mental busts, choosing Jones to anchor the high-leverage blindside post. Winning the starting battle, however, does not mean Jones will be left entirely on an island against the league's premier edge rushers. Ben Johnson's offensive architecture is far too pragmatic to leave a vulnerable tackle exposed without dynamic structural support. To safeguard Caleb Williams during the crucial early stretch of the schedule, the Bears will rely heavily on targeted tight end usage to insulate the left side of the line. Chicago's depth chart features a formidable tight end room, featuring versatile veterans Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, alongside newly drafted third-rounder Sam Rush. Rush, in particular, built with a physical blocker-first mindset, provides the exact schematic tool needed to mitigate speed rushes off the edge. Expect Johnson to dial up frequent 12 and 13 personnel packages, utilizing 2 and 3 tight ends on the field simultaneously to establish a heavy, physical presence at the line of scrimmage. By deploying these heavy sets, the offense creates a multi-layered insurance policy for their starting left tackle. On early downs, tight ends like Kemet or Roosh will align tightly off Jones' outside hip, executing aggressive chip blocks before leaking out into the flat on delayed routes. These violent initial chips smash into the pass rusher's outside shoulder, disrupting their path, throwing off their timing, and slowing down their jump off the snap before they ever engage the left tackle. Furthermore, using Loveland as a move tight end in motion forces defense fronts to hesitate, preventing linebackers and defensive ends from timing up aggressive blitzes. This heavy-set strategy allows the offense to create clean, predictable 6- and 7-man protection pockets without entirely sacrificing downfield passing options. This tactical insulation serves a double purpose. Beyond protecting Caleb Williams' health, it preserves the full playbook by buying time for Braxton Jones to settle into a rhythm and establish his anchor. Instead of forcing Williams into panic throws or frantic scrambles, the combination of a disciplined starter and heavy tight end support keeps the passing windows wide and the offense operating on schedule. If Jones holds his ground and the tight end group executes their chipping duties with physical precision, the front office's high-stakes gamble will pay off. The chaotic four-way Royal Rumble will fade into the background, leaving the Bears with a cohesive, fortified battle line ready to protect their franchise quarterback and drive a deep postseason run.